My son broke his bully's nose. I am not the oop. Oop is you, oak temperature 189. My son broke his bully's nose. Originally posted to our confessions. Trigger warning. Physical violence. Slurs. Verbal abuse. Less than. Original post August 25, 2023. I have done almost everything I could do regarding this situation. I've contacted the parents. I've contacted the school. The parents basically blew me off and told me that it was a situation of kids being kids. The school pretended to care, but didn't do anything in their power to actually stop it. I have asked my son plenty of times if he wanted to switch schools. It was always a no because he doesn't want to leave his friend. I can understand that considering he's had a rough go ever since he started school. He's been diagnosed with both autism and ADHD, so it's really hard for him to make friends. The little prick has been doing this to him for years. But lately it has gotten much worse. He's been shoving my son in the hall's lunch line, causing him to fall many times, and calls him things like retard and slow. He used to pick him up by his backpack and toss him to the ground before he had a growth spurt. But now my boy is taller than most kids in his grade. Fifth. Still, he didn't know how to stick up for himself. My wife always encouraged killing them with kindness, but it never worked in his favor. I have told him repeatedly for the past year that he needs to stand up for himself and fight back. Yesterday he came home crying, and it just broke my heart to see how much pain he was in. I wasn't mean to him, but I was very stern and told him that if he didn't fight back the next time I was going to take him out of that school, whether he liked it or not. Well, today I got a call from my wife after work and she told me what had happened. He was on his way to lunch and got shoved onto the ground, causing his knees to be a bit bruised. My son then got up and left hooked him right in the face, causing his nose to immediately bleed. My son said that the boy started to cry and he even kinda felt bad. Heart of gold. His parents have contacted us. They're threatening to sue and told us that his nose had been broken. My wife is mad at me because I've been over the moon since. I don't condone violence, but in this situation something had to be done. Anyone who thinks otherwise hasn't seen the pain that little punk has caused for my son. If his parents didn't want it to come to this, then they should have taken it more seriously when I told them how much of a big asshole their kid is. I had my fair share of bullies as a kid and I never did anything about it. I'm glad that I'm raising a son that is much tougher than I was. I hope that this has taught him to never be afraid to stick up for himself. I'm a very proud dad today. Update August 27, 2023. I just want to start off by thanking everyone in support of my son and for giving me advice regarding their threats to sue. I would have replied to some comments, but I've been extremely busy at work and haven't had the time. My wife has been in contact with the parents since and has suggested that I stay out of it. Considering my short temper, that's probably for the best. It seems she's handling it well and thinks that they are not going to try and sue, which is good. But I'd be lying if I said that a part of me wouldn't love to whip their asses in court. We're not too well off financially our end though, and I know that leaving it off at a broken nose is the best option. I saw all of the comments saying how I should reward my son for doing what he did. So last night I bought him a video game he's been asking for and ordered pizza. It's not Disney World, but it's what I could afford to do. There's been a shift in his overall mood and he even told me that he can't wait to go back to school Thursday. It seems this situation has given him a confidence boost and I am loving it. This update might be a bit boring, but that's all I have. Thank you again for all of the kind words you people had for both me and my son. Appreciate it. This is a repost sub IAM, not the oop. I don't think I'd be able to resist the urge to let the bully's parents know it's just a case of kids being kids. Everyone's tough until they get punched in the face. Hope the pizza was good. As someone who was bullied as an elementary schooler and middle schooler until I beat up my bully, I approve. Words don't work. You have to communicate in a language they understand. You know, there comes a point where you stop trying to be the bigger person and give what you've been getting. And OOP's son's been getting for a long time. So good for him. He stood up for himself and made it clear. No more. And I'm with OOP. Let those parents just try and sue. It's all fun and games until their little bully gets a taste of his own medicine. Technically, their tot has been putting his hands on OOP's son first. So, less than shrug. I'm glad OOP's son has made his stand. Hopefully this will be the end. Some people just need a punch in the face. Had a similar experience recently. My 11-year-old son is on the smaller side for his age, but is by no means weak or timid. He loves football, soccer, is a formidable defender, but also gets put in goal a lot because he's got a knack for it. Although he'd prefer to be on the pitch. His team played another local team recently, known to be a rough lot, with one massive bruiser of a player who seems to delight in hurting other kids. Did a blatant illegal tackle on my son's best friend once, and that poor kid couldn't walk right for a week. Hospital visit and everything. Of course, the Thugs coaches do nothing about it. Back to this game. My son's in goal. Dying seconds. Thug tries to score an equalizer. My son blocks it. Final whistle. Our team wins 21. They're doing the traditional handshakes after the game. Thug puts his hand out to my son. My son goes to shake it. Thug takes the opportunity to punch him right in the face. My boy's smaller after all. What's he going to do? What he does is, purely on reflex, kick the guy square in the nuts. As this DK head is bending in pain, son uppercuts him. That kid presumably didn't know beforehand that I'd been bringing my son to boxing training for about 10 months. But I'm guessing he might have had an inkling as he landed on his ass. Cue their coaches yelling because now they care about violent conduct. Cue coaches from a whole other team yelling at them because they saw the whole thing and have dealt with their precious bruiser before. First thing my son does is apologize to me for getting into a fight. His punishment was KFC for lunch, because that's his favorite. No surprise that the school isn't taking bullying serious and the bully's parents aren't being really responsible. The school system really stinks. Bullies are the worst in school, and it's frustrating that no one takes it seriously until the bullied victim actually fights back. Hope OP's kid had a great pizza and game. He deserves it after all what had happened. I'll never forget my parents telling me my suspension was a hard-earned vacation after I finally smacked my bully in the head like she did to me every day. She never got in trouble. But vindication is the sweetest reward. My nephew punched a kid who had bullied a younger girl with Downs on the bus home for days. He went to her and introduced himself and invited her to sit with him and his sister from now on. The bully grabbed her and said she's not going anywhere, and what are you going to do about it? Fucked around and found out. For sure. His parents made a formal complaint to the school, who called in my brother. He said, "What the hell do you expect me to do? Tell him to leave weaker people to the mercy of others?" Principal told him that he should tell my nephew he was very proud of him and to never let the fear of consequences stop you doing the right thing. Sorted. If I had the power to punch my bully back, I would've. Good on the kid for standing up for himself, since nobody would. Pro tip for kids that are still smaller than their bully. A hardcover book and enough momentum does wonders. Speaking from experience, the parents basically blew me off and told me that it was a situation of kids being kids. The school pretended to care, but didn't do anything in their power to actually stop it. It's all kids being kids, and school doing nothing until the victim pops the bully in the face one time. Then they all be like, how could the victim do that? And I'm like, seems to me ya wanted the victim to have broken nose instead. But thank goodness that didn't happen to ya useless trifling ass parents, and even more useless, worthless ass school. My brother was 6.2 at age 12. Just huge. Got picked on constantly by older kids trying to fight him. After a few months of this going on, some guy pushed him down the school driveway. My brother got up and punched him in the face and broke his nose. The guy was 3 years above my brother. This was 20 years ago. So no one sued anyone and the school barely cared. No one ever said boo to my brother again, and my other brothers were never bullied due to the older brother legacy. My mom was so proud of him. She framed his detention slip. She still has it today. Reminds me of a kid that harassed me for several months. The school even got involved with talking to the kid, but no results. I sat assigned at the front of my class, just a few feet from the teacher. One day I had it and smacked them, probably arm's length from my teacher. I immediately panicked, thinking I was in trouble. My teacher said to the bully, maybe you'll leave her alone now. I had no more issues after that. I have had to physically retaliate against bullies a couple of times in my life. In both cases, they were shocked and crying and made themselves out to be the victim. Usually with one or more friend of theirs, co-bullies, usually taking their side. However, in every case, it made the bullying stop, and I didn't get in trouble for it. I'm not condoning violence and I do not advise it, but it's my unfortunate experience that this is the only way to make a bully back off. You should never teach your kids to punch anyone in the face. Teach them a nice uppercut to the solar plexus. Knocking the wind out of someone makes it hard for them to fight back, and there's much less chance of breaking bones, noses or fingers. Plus, if no one saw, there's much less evidence. My son has the same mix of neurodiversity. We moved to a foreign country when he was in first grade. Immediately a bunch of kids started taking advantage of his size and inability to communicate. They were fifth graders and picked on him on the playground for a few days. They finally circled up on him and were messing with him, and he couldn't get away. He ended up walloping a few of them and head-butting another. He'd grown up roughhousing with his dad, who is a martial artist. The parents of the other kids were really upset and wanted us to apologize, and cited local culture as to how they wanted us to apologize. We kindly told the principal that any fifth graders picking fights with a first grader get what they deserve, and that in our culture, if someone starts a fight, they should be prepared for someone to finish it. The principal was a bit more proactive in helping my son navigate social situations and keeping the fifth graders away from him in the future. I'm a pacifist. I really think violence should be the last resort. In this case, I'd say it was. And when the awkward, quiet kid punches another in the face, you know the other kid took it too far. As someone who was chronically bullied to the point he had to leave school, fighting back may work once or twice, but it won't always work. Sometimes people are just assholes, and the folks who are supposed to look out for you are more useless than a toilet paper raincoat. This post just made me realize that there was a girl who used to bully me and my friends. And one day I got so mad about it that I punched her. And after years of asking for help from teachers with nothing working except her pretending to cry for sympathy, The time I actually hurt her, she just looked shocked. Eventually asked for the nurse, and she never bothered us again. Other kids tried to, but never her. Dang. Sometimes violence does work. Tears of joy.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epicaricast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.